Hello, you're listening to Professor Carlton Radio. I'm your host, Professor Carlton, or, if you prefer, Dr. Carlton, as I hold 3 doctorates. I have a doctorate in creative writing and expression from Princeton University, as well as a doctorate in American literature and poetry from Columbia University. I also have a PhD in repetition and resonance from Stanford University, with a major in poetic nuances. My Stanford thesis was performed on my very own daughter's song, 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton, which, in my opinion, is one of the finest works of poetry in modern history. Today we will analyze the poetic nuances of yet another of America's finest rising poets, Miss Taylor Swift. The poem in question is entitled Blank Space, a poem so innovative it was also put into the form of a song, written by the critically acclaimed trio Swift, Max Martin, and Shellback. Between you and I don't consider it a song so much as a poem with a punctuating beat. A poem so good it was recreated in the form of a film directed by the great Joseph Kahn, who also directed a poetic marvel known as Waking Up in Vegas by a former student of mine, Miss Katy Perry. And further, Miss Swift's poem was converted into a 360-degree music video app produced by the esteemed Fortune 500 company, American Express. Not only is Miss Swift the writer behind the poem, but she's also the lead actress in the film portraying its subtleties, revealing yet another degree of diversity in the young poetic starlet. In my day, poems did not have films accompanying them. You had to imagine the poet's vision. But thankfully, due to advancements in technology, we are now able to see the entire vision of the artist laid bare. And as such, we will keep with the trend and examine this poem within the context of Mr. Joseph Kahn's film exploration of it. Let us begin. Blank Space by Miss Taylor Swift.
Meet you where you been. I could show you incredible things. Magic, madness, heaven, sin. Saw you there and I thought, oh my God, look at that face. You look like my next mistake. Love's a game, wanna play. New money, suit and tie. I can read you like a magazine.
Let's review the last poetic pentameter, where Miss Swift begins. You look like my next mistake. Yet, she makes a face of intrigue in the film. It seems she's dabbling in classic poetic irony. At first, it seems Miss Swift's loins are burning for this young hunk. But she knows he's just a classic honey dick. And if she were to fall innocently for him, she would then be another one of the hunk's victims of casual love. But she's smarter than that. Yet, she continues undaunted on her quest for the hunk, next stating, "Love's a game. Wanna play?" We know love is not just a game to Miss Swift, or anyone else for that matter. So why does she label it so in her poem? Let me offer this insight into the poetic subtleties of this second verse of the pentameter. Perhaps she is using the word love as a metaphor for the yearning in her loins. Yet instead of enticing the hunk into true love, she asks him if he wants to play with her, already clearly knowing that of course he wants to play with her. How do we know that? Because she then closes the pentameter with the statement, "I can read you like a magazine." Of course we know the hunk is not just words on a piece of paper. Miss Swift is using yet another original metaphor to say that she knows his true intentions. She knows the hunk only wants to get into her gown, and by his face, we can see he knows that she knows. Yet he is so well manscaped, she is willing to forego love in the moment and let the hunk be her next mistake. Or is she going somewhere else with this? We don't know yet. Let's continue.
Ain't it funny, rumors fly, and I know you heard about me, so hey, let's be friends. I'm dying to see how this one ends. Grab your passport and my hand, I can make the bad guys good for a weekend.
She just wants to be friends, and she's dying to see how this one ends. Or so she says. It may have been that simple if this wasn't poetry. Now, seeing that in the film, the hunk is holding her in a romantic dance posture, one that usually leads to a lover's kiss, followed by intercourse, it seems her offer to be friends is really just a double entendre for sexual intercourse. And then she metaphorically, quote, fibs again when she says she's dying to see how this one ends, as she already knows how it will end, in intercourse. Why? Because she is the heavily sought-after Miss Taylor Swift, and he's just a no-name hunk. And finally, she closes the pentameter with yet another round of poetic irony. I can make the bad guys good for a weekend, which she says with a certain dote of self-satisfaction. And next in the film, she is forcing the hunk to dress up in the black and white garb of a true gentleman, while walking her 3 Dobermans for her. So what's going on? Well, she has already made it clear that the man's hunky appearance has done enough to entice her into lowering her gown for him, thereby allowing him to fornicate with her nude body. But she will only let her, quote, bad guy be proverbially bad with her after he has been proverbially good with her, meaning after he has allowed himself to be conformed to her ideal figure of a subservient and obedient lover, one who never lets her down, even in the end. And now the choral interlude, which should confirm my analysis.
So it's gonna be forever, or it's gonna go down in flames. You can tell me when it's over, if the high was worth the pain. Got a long list of ex-lovers, they'll tell you I'm insane. 'Cause you know I love the players, and you love the game.
The game, meaning her game of honeypotting him. The players, meaning the hunk she seduces and uses for intercourse as part of her game.
We're young and we're reckless, we'll take this way too far. It'll leave you breathless, or with a nasty scar. Got a long list of ex-lovers, they'll tell you I'm insane. But I've got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name.
She's being quite ironic with the words blank space, isn't she? Is she saying, yes, I have an opening for a new hunk? Or is she perhaps saying, because my loins are flowing so forcefully with teenage hormones, there's a blank space in my head?
Cherry lips, crystal skies.
Taylor Swift states that the poem started as a joke on the media's perception of her as a casual lover. Therefore, she decided to spoof the media back by embodying herself as that casual lover they portray her as. However, I feel that since she's explaining her poem to the very media assaulting her image, she is still yet using poetic metaphor to throw them off further. And in my opinion, and it's an opinion that Miss Swift has yet to call in to confirm accord with, I feel she is trying to say that she does in fact enjoy casual fornication with random hunks. But because of her fear of being persecuted for what Miss Swift and I both believe is a natural biological desire for young girls, and one that every girl should shamelessly act upon provided they do so responsibly, she in turn covers her true motives up behind the poetic ambiguity of this epic ensemble.
And I'll write your name. Boys only want love if it's torture. Don't say I didn't warn ya. Boys only want love if it's torture. Don't say I didn't warn ya. So it's gonna be forever, or it's gonna go down in flames. You can tell me when it's over.
Thank you for listening to today's poetry analysis. I'm Professor Carlton. I should know just to be responsible to my viewers. While I believe that young girls should engage in non-selective fornication at their heart's whims, as it is quite natural and biological, I do not believe that the man should be granted access to the woman's vagina, as this could cause added damage to our current overpopulation crisis. Instead, and as Miss Swift says, it should be played in the context of a game, where the fornication takes place not so formally and irresponsibly inside the vaginal canal, but on the bosoms, legs, rear end, and face of the girl. When fornicating with young poets, I usually target the rear end,